I designed these gates at home in Oregon, just sitting at my dining room table on a piece of computer paper. And the engineer that looked it over ran the calculations, and sure enough, we were within allowable range of structural value, which was more luck than good management on my part. They are heavy, they're almost 700 pounds apiece, but they're big gates, obviously. Rectangular and square tubing is arguably the most versatile and easiest structural steel section to work with, and so we've welded them together on site. It was just, I considered myself lucky to have been down here when Antonio, who by the way is a friend of Nate's, Antonio built the trailer that you see Nate pulling around behind his truck. He's a great guy. He has a good common sense approach to fabrication, and he's a pleasure to work with. You know, some fabrications are done entirely in a shop. Some fabrications are done entirely on site. And this was kind of a hybrid. The frames were brought, we wrestled them by hand off the trailer. They were heavy. We had to improvise with the equipment that we had available for getting them in place and raising them up. The control issues were that the posts had to be plumb, they had to be the right distance in the ground. The gates had to be set to the right height on the posts so that they cleared the finished grade. When the grading was done, that was determined off of the hubs, the whiskers, the blue tops that we've already talked about that were in place. We don't want these things dragging. So I'm standing next to a little stack of pan decking. Pan decking is the material that is often used to form in a metal structure the diaphragm that you will put a suspended concrete slab on. Now we're not suspending a concrete slab here. We're using this material, which is a very heavy 20 gauge corrugated galvanized steel sheet for the finished face on Nate's security gate. It would be really hard to get through this. So it's an example of using a material that's intended for one application in a very legitimate and in fact ideal use in another application. This particular pan decking is known as B decking. The full description, and I'm not sure who the manufacturer is on this, American Steel or who, I don't know, but it's BH36 is the designation. And pan decking comes in all configurations. The height of the corrugation of the rib, the distance between the gauge, and there are span ratings about how far you can span between supports if you're going to pour a 4-inch or a 6-inch or a 7-inch slab. That has nothing to do with what we're doing here today except to identify what the material is. What I want to show you is one application of a pro tip that's important, and that is ganging up your work, doing one process to as many pieces at the same time as you can. In this case, I'm laying out the holes, 1/4-inch holes that are going to be drilled through the bottom of the corrugation to accept these self-tapping tech screws, which are going to screw this pan decking to the frame of the gate. In drilling these holes, I've got the layout on here. It's going to make the installation easier. The first part of the hole is already drilled, but primarily it takes the guesswork out of the layout so that all of these holes on all of the sheets will be lined up horizontally exactly the same. It looks a lot better, the layout goes quicker, and the first part of the drilling is taken care of. So this idea of gang cutting or gang drilling is most often used in my world with lumber. You can see a good example of this in the SkillSaw Pro Tips video that we posted way back when. But it's a method that I bring often. Almost in every project there will be an opportunity to stack work up, lay things out side by side, and perform the same operation through multiple pieces at the same time. It's a force multiplier. It'll make you a better hand. And that's what we're doing here today, so I'm going to get with it and hope this little cordless Makita 18-volt stands up to the pressure. The last time I was here, Antonio and Nate and I were just putting up the framework and got part of the skin put on. I haven't been here to operate these things since they've been in place. I think it's going to feel good. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a serious chunk. One of the weak points on almost every gate, and for that matter almost every door, including cabinet doors, is the hinge. Now you can buy expensive and really nice bronze bushed hinges for heavy gate applications. Antonio designed and built these. They're made of pipe and flat bar, and they are very durable, they're very bulletproof, they didn't cost much, and it's integral. There's really no way to separate the form or the function of the hinge pin assembly from the gate itself. It's pretty elegant. He drilled and tapped little holes for grease zerks. We haven't greased it yet because the painting's not done yet, but when these things are greased up, this thing is going to be absolutely indestructible and fully functional. Things don't have to be complicated to be good. The thing that's hanging out there that still has to be determined is wind load. These things are huge sails, and the gate and the hinges are plenty sturdy enough. The question is the operators on the automatic opening and closing mechanism. We're going to see how well they withstand the loads that the wind puts on this, and we may have to sort of revisit and redesign, but we're hopeful that it's going to work fine. We're going to put good operators on this, and we'll see how it does. One of the realities of living and trying to be productive in a regulatory environment is that after months and years of trying to get a building permit for a very simple project, at some point you get tired of arguing. And so even though this elaborate grill assembly with a gate to be able to get back and forth is obviously impractical. I mean, think of it. The water is coming right through here. The water in a 1,000-year flood event is still going to come right through here. This should have just been a block wall up to about here with a lintel, maybe 3.5 or 4 feet off the ground. A grate, a removable grate from here and down would have been better security, better appearance, less work, or at least more practical work. But instead, it just wasn't worth arguing. It wasn't worth fighting. And knowing Antonio was an advantage for Nate. Antonio came out and fabricated it in place. It looks good, it is good, the permit's in hand, and everybody's happy. There comes a time when not every hill is the hill to die on, right? And this was not a hill to die on.